What is the true price of fame? For some of hip-hop's biggest stars, the bill wasn't paid in money or gold chains, but in their health, their sanity, and ultimately, their lives. The music industry has always had a dark side, where personal struggles can lead to a downward spiral. We sang along to anthems about lean and popping pills, not always realizing we were listening to a cry for help set to a beat. These are the 12 worst addicts in hip-hop history. Starting at number 12, we have Kid Cudi. Scott "Kid Cudi" Mescudi is arguably one of the most influential artists of his generation, not just for his genre-bending sound, but for his revolutionary vulnerability. His career has been a landmark in the destigmatization of mental wellness within hip-hop, as he laid bare his battles with depression, anxiety, and loneliness at a time when such topics were still largely taboo. His music became an anthem for a generation of listeners who felt seen and understood by his raw honesty. However, this emotional transparency was a reflection of a profound and dangerous internal struggle, one that was deeply intertwined with self-medication. As his fame skyrocketed in the late 2000s, Cudi turned to powerful stimulants to cope with the immense pressures and anxieties that came with his rapid rise to stardom. He later described this period as feeling like he was playing a character, forced to be on for the public while being completely miserable behind the scenes. The habit was a form of self-medication, a desperate attempt to manage the deep-seated mental anguish that he had been battling for years. This culminated in a 2010 run-in with the law for possession of a controlled substance, which brought his private struggle into the public eye. The most critical moment in his journey came in 2016. In a move of incredible courage, Kid Cudi announced to his fans via a heartfelt letter that he was checking himself into a treatment facility. He was not seeking help primarily for his substance use, but for depression and dark thoughts. He wrote, "My anxiety and depression have ruled my life for as long as I can remember. I deserve to have peace." He later revealed the true severity of this period, speaking about a life-threatening incident and how he had been actively planning to take his own life. Kid Cudi's story is pivotal because it explicitly and publicly framed his substance reliance as a symptom of his mental health crisis, not the cause. In doing so, he paved the way for a new generation of artists to speak openly about trauma and self-medication. Moving on to number 11, we have Kanye West. The case of Kanye West is one of the most complex, public, and polarizing stories of the intersection of fame, mental wellness, and personal dependency. For years, West's erratic behavior and controversial public statements were subjects of intense media scrutiny. But in 2018, he provided a crucial piece of context. In a candid interview, West revealed that he had developed a reliance on powerful painkillers following a cosmetic procedure he underwent in 2016. He explained that the motivation for the surgery was rooted in intense insecurity, stating, "I got liposuction because I didn't want y'all to call me fat." The prescribed remedies he was given post-surgery became a crutch, and he found himself in a state during significant moments, including a high-profile political meeting. This period of dependency coincided with a severe mental health crisis. In November 2016, West was hospitalized for a psychiatric emergency, an event he later referred to as a breakthrough. He was subsequently diagnosed with bipolar disorder, a condition that has since become central to the public's understanding and misunderstanding of his actions. West himself has had a complicated relationship with his treatment, speaking openly about his struggles with medication, which he has at times taken inconsistently, fearing it would stifle his creativity. More recently, his name has been linked to other forms of questionable habits, with allegations surfacing from a former staffer about a dependency on nitrous oxide. West's story is a tangled web where it is often difficult to separate the symptoms of his diagnosed mental illness from the effects of his habits and the calculated provocations of a master artist, raising difficult questions about the public consumption of celebrity breakdowns. At number 10, we have J Swift. The story of J Swift is a devastating cautionary tale of how quickly a brilliant career can be derailed by the forces of a downward spiral. As one of the key producers and founding members of the Sanity, J Swift was instrumental in crafting the sound of their classic 1992 debut album, Bizarre Ride to the Far Side. His innovative and jazzy production style helped define an era and set the group on a path to success. However, behind this creative genius was a growing personal battle. J Swift's life began to unravel as he descended into a severe struggle with a notorious street substance. This powerful habit took over completely, stripping him of his career, his relationships, and his home. He ultimately found himself living on the streets, a world away from the recording studios and stages where he had made his name. His story represents one of the most dramatic falls from grace in the history of hip-hop. His harrowing journey and fight for redemption were captured in the 2007 documentary film One More Hit. The film follows Jay Swift through his life of homelessness and personal turmoil, documenting his raw and painful reality as he attempts to get clean and reclaim his music career. The documentary is a powerful and unflinching look at the consequences of such a life, highlighting not only the immense struggle, but also the enduring charisma and talent that lie beneath the surface of his disease. Jay Swift's story serves as a stark reminder that immense talent offers no immunity to the destructive power of harmful habits. Our number 9 entry details the story of Chris Kelly. The tragic passing of Chris "Mac Daddy" Kelly is a heartbreaking reminder of the long and often invisible shadow cast by child stardom. As one half of the 1990s rap duo Criss Cross, Kelly was catapulted to global fame at an astonishingly young age. Their 1992 hit single "Jump" became a cultural phenomenon, and with their signature style of wearing their clothes backwards, they became instant icons. They toured with Michael Jackson and experienced a level of success that most artists can only dream of, all before they were old enough to drive. However, after their initial wave of success, the duo faded from the spotlight. For years, little was heard about Kelly's personal life until May 1st, 2013, when he was found unresponsive in his Atlanta home. He was pronounced gone at the age of 34. The news shocked the world, but the details that emerged painted a sad picture of a long, quiet struggle. According to a police report, Kelly's mother told authorities that her son had consumed a mixture of 2 powerful illicit powders the night before. An official toxicology report later confirmed that his passing was the result of a multi-substance combination. His family and friends revealed that Kelly had an extensive history of substance misuse, a battle he had been fighting for years, far from the public eye. His story is a poignant example of the lasting impact of the pressures of early fame. Chris Kelly's life, which began with such a vibrant and joyful jump into the spotlight, ended in a quiet and tragic silence. Taking the 8th position on our list is Old Dirty Bastard. Russell Jones, known to the world as Old Dirty Bastard, ODB, was the wild, untamable spirit of the legendary Wu-Tang Clan. He was a true original, an artist whose unpredictable delivery made him one of the most unique voices in hip-hop. Yet, the very chaos that defined his artistic genius was mirrored in his personal life, where a severe and relentless personal battle fueled a life of erratic behavior and constant legal turmoil. His career was perpetually hampered by his battle with substance misuse. He had multiple run-ins with the law on related charges, including possession of a notorious illicit powder. His struggles were so profound that he was ordered by a court to attend a residential treatment facility. In a move characteristic of his rebellious nature, he escaped from the center after 10 months and spent a month as a fugitive before being captured. His life became a revolving door of recording studios, courtrooms, and periods of incarceration. The final, tragic chapter of his life came on November 13th, 2004. While working on a new album at a recording studio, ODB complained of chest pains before collapsing. He was pronounced gone just 2 days shy of his 36th birthday. An autopsy later revealed that his passing was caused by an accidental toxic event from a lethal combination of a powerful stimulant and a prescription pain reliever. ODB's story represents a tragic archetype in music, the brilliant but tormented artist whose self-destructive behavior is often celebrated as part of their mystique. Next up, at number 7, is Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne is a towering figure in hip-hop, an artist whose lyrical prowess has influenced an entire generation. However, his legacy is also inextricably linked to the popularization of a specific and dangerous concoction known as scissorp. This mixture of prescription-grade cough syrup containing powerful compounds with soda became a central theme in his music and a visible part of his public persona. Through his immense influence, Lil Wayne transformed the substance from a regional phenomenon into a mainstream status symbol within the culture. While his music often glamorized the his life has served as the most high-profile cautionary tale of its severe health consequences. For years, Lil Wayne has been engaged in a life-and-death battle with the effects of his long-term dependency. The most alarming manifestation of this has been a series of debilitating medical emergencies, including seizures, which have led to multiple hospitalizations and several reported life-threatening experiences. The raw reality of his struggle was captured in the acclaimed 2009 documentary, The Carter. The film provided an unfiltered look into his life at the peak of his fame, and it did not shy away from depicting his constant consumption of the infamous mixture and the out-of-control nature of his lifestyle. The portrayal was so candid that Lil Wayne himself unsuccessfully successfully sued to block its release. His ongoing health problems are a stark and public testament to the dangerous reality behind the myth he helped create. At number 6, we have the case of Flavor Flav. Flavor Flav, born William Jonathan Drayton Jr., is one of hip-hop's most iconic figures. As the hype man for the revolutionary group Public Enemy, his larger-than-life persona made him a global superstar. But while he was on stage, he was fighting a private war that would cost him nearly everything. For years, Flavor Flav was in the grips of a severe and all-consuming struggle with a specific illicit substance. The sheer scale of his habit is difficult to comprehend. In his own words, Flav has detailed the astronomical financial toll. At the height of his dependency, he was spending between $2,400 and $2,600 on the substance every single day. This went on for 6 consecutive years, costing him a staggering total of nearly $5.7 million. This devastating habit led to a cascade of legal problems, including run-ins with the law for assault and domestic issues, which resulted in periods of incarceration and the loss of custody of his children. His life was in a complete downward spiral until his family, desperate to save him, staged an intervention. This led him to check into the renowned Betty Ford Center to treat his dependency. The road to recovery was long and difficult, but he ultimately succeeded in overcoming his challenges. Flavor Flav's story is a shocking illustration of the absolute financial and personal devastation that such a habit can cause. Cracking the top 5 is Lil Peep. The passing of Gustav Lil Peep Orr was a tragic watershed moment that brutally defined the SoundCloud rap era and served as a fatal wake-up call to the lethal dangers of the modern prescription pill crisis. At just 21 years old, Lil Peep was a rapidly rising star who blended raw emotion with trap beats. His lyrics were a direct reflection of his life, openly exploring themes of depression, heartbreak, and self-medication, which resonated deeply with a generation of young fans. His life and career were cut tragically short on November 15, 2017. While on tour, he was found unresponsive on his tour bus just before a scheduled performance. His passing was later ruled an accidental toxic event, but the specific cause sent a shockwave of fear through the music community. The medical examiner found that he succumbed to the combined toxic effects of a powerful synthetic compound and a prescription sedative. A broader report revealed a cocktail of other potent substances in his system. Lil Peep had taken counterfeit sedative pills that were unknowingly laced with an incredibly potent a substance so powerful that a minuscule amount can be fatal. His passing was not a simple case of taking too much of one thing. It was a deadly game of roulette. The tragedy was compounded by a subsequent lawsuit filed by his mother against his management team, alleging they were complicit in his passing by continually supplying him with substances to ensure he could perform. Lil Peep's passing marked a turning point, shifting the conversation to the terrifying threat of counterfeit pills. The 4th artist on our list is Juice WRLD. The story of Gerard Juice WRLD Higgins is one of modern hip-hop's most heartbreaking tragedies. He was a prodigious talent who experienced a meteoric rise to fame, captivating millions with music that was defined by its raw vulnerability about his struggles with anxiety, depression, and substance misuse. His songs were like open diary entries, and in doing so, he became a voice for a generation. Tragically, the very lyrics that made him a star would become a devastating prophecy. Juice WRLD's battle with dependency began long before he was famous. He started consuming the infamous purple drink in the 6th grade and took his first powerful painkiller at the age of 14. His life came to a sudden and tragic end on December 8, 2019, just 6 days after his 21st birthday. After landing at Chicago's Midway Airport on a private jet, federal agents were waiting to search the plane. In a moment of panic, it was reported that Juice WRLD swallowed multiple pills in an attempt to hide them. Shortly after, he began convulsing and suffered a catastrophic medical event. Though he was administered an overdose reversal agent, he was pronounced gone at a nearby hospital. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office later confirmed that his passing was an accidental event caused by toxic levels of specific pain-relieving compounds. His story is a devastating example of life imitating art, a painful reminder of the real-world consequences behind the lyrics, and a tragic illustration of how the pressures of fame can amplify a young person's struggle to a fatal breaking point. In the 3rd spot, we have Mac Miller. The passing of Malcolm Mac Miller McCormick sent a profound and lasting shockwave through the music industry. He was a beloved and deeply respected artist who had grown up in the public eye evolving from a frat rap sensation into a sophisticated and vulnerable musician. His journey was marked by a public and honest battle with his personal demons, a struggle he chronicled with increasing depth and self-awareness in his music. Because he was so open and seemed to be on a path of growth, his sudden passing felt like a personal loss to countless fans. For years, Miller was candid about his struggles, which began with a reliance on the purple drink as a way to cope with the pressures of touring. His dependency later expanded to include other substances, most notably powerful stimulants. His music became a vessel for his experiences, with albums like Swimming grappling, frankly, with the cycles of unhealthy habits and the hope for recovery. On September 7th, 2018, Mac Miller was found gone in his home at the age of 26. His passing was ruled an accidental toxic event, but the cause revealed the terrifying new reality of the health crisis. He had succumbed to a fatal combination of a powerful synthetic, a stimulant, and alcohol. The investigation revealed that he had been given counterfeit painkiller pills that were secretly laced with the synthetic, a substance he likely had no idea he was consuming. His passing brought the counterfeit pill crisis into the mainstream consciousness in an undeniable way, demonstrating that no one was safe from unknowingly ingesting a fatal dose. Our runner-up at number 2 is the story of Eminem. The story of Marshall Eminem Mathers is perhaps the most detailed and dramatic public narrative of survival and recovery in hip-hop history. At the height of his global fame, he descended into a severe dependency that nearly cost him his life. Unlike many of his peers, whose struggles were tied to street substances, Eminem's battle was with prescribed medications. He became reliant on a dangerous cocktail of pills, including pain relievers, sedatives, and sleep aids, to manage the overwhelming pressures of his career. His habits spiraled out of control. At his worst, he was ingesting as many as 90 pills a day. For a long time, he remained in denial, reasoning that because he was taking prescribed medications, he wasn't a real person with a problem. He would say, "I'm not out there using street substances." This illusion was shattered in December 2007 when he suffered a near-fatal event involving a potent synthetic pain reliever. He was rushed to the hospital where doctors told him he had ingested a massive amount and was about 2 hours from dying. This terrifying brush with mortality was the wake-up call he needed. After a brief relapse, he committed to getting clean, checking into a facility in 2008. His recovery was driven by his deep love for his children and bolstered by an unlikely mentor, Elton John. As a fellow musician who had survived his own intense battle, John provided crucial guidance. Eminem has been sober ever since. He chronicled his arduous journey on his 2010 album, Recovery, a project that became a symbol of resilience. And finally, at number 1, the most tragic and powerful story on our list is DMX. The life of Earl DMX Simmons represents the most relentless, public, and ultimately tragic battle with personal demons in the history of hip-hop. His was not a story of a brief fall from grace. It was a lifelong war with a pain that was planted in his childhood and haunted him until his final days. His struggle was inseparable from his art, his faith, and his very identity. DMX's dependency began with a singular, cruel act of betrayal. At the tender age of 14, he was tricked by a mentor, a man he looked up to, into consuming a product that was laced with a highly potent substance. That moment, as he described it years later, was the genesis of a monster he would fight for the rest of his life. His primary struggle was with that specific substance, a dependency that led to a decades-long cycle of legal issues, periods of incarceration, and repeated, unsuccessful stints in rehabilitation. Yet, this immense pain was the very source of his transcendent art. DMX's music was a raw, unfiltered exorcism. On one track, he could be the aggressive voice of the streets, and on the next, he would be on his knees, delivering a heartfelt prayer, pleading for deliverance. He was brutally honest about his fight. In a chillingly prophetic interview, he once acknowledged the relentless nature of his condition. On April 2nd, 2021, DMX suffered a catastrophic heart attack at his home following a substance-related incident. After a week on life support, he passed away at the age of 50. His story is the most profound tragedy on this list because his battle was so long, so public, and so deeply rooted in a childhood trauma from which he never truly escaped.